For thousands of years, this hill has drawn the faithful, the curious, and the conqueror. The Temple Mount, a place where heaven once touched earth, a holy site for billions, revered in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And yet, beneath the surface, something extraordinary is stirring. Shocking new data has emerged, not from excavation, but from deep hidden scans beneath the sacred platform. What lies buried below could change everything we thought we knew. About the temple, about the scriptures, about the divine presence itself. Could the most sacred place on earth be more than myth? Stay with us, because the deeper we go, the more unbelievable it gets. A hill like no other. Why this place matters. There is a hill in the heart of Jerusalem that carries more weight than any mountain on earth. It is not vast in size, barely 35 acres of stone and platform. But the echoes of eternity ring from its every corner. Here, time folds in on itself. Ancient prayers still hover in the air like smoke. And for thousands of years, this single location has been the spiritual compass of the world. To the Jewish people, it is known as Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount, the holiest place in all of Judaism. This is where Abraham is believed to have prepared to sacrifice Isaac, where David chose to anchor the ark, and where Solomon built the first temple. A structure unlike anything before or since. It was within those walls that the Ark of the Covenant once rested, its golden cherubim stretched above the mercy seat. And it was here, within the Holy of Holies, that the Shekinah, the visible glory of God, descended in cloud and fire. This was not mere ritual. It was divine contact, a place where God himself said, "My eyes and my heart will always be there." 1 Kings 9:3. But this hill's power does not belong to one people alone. For Muslims, this site is called Al-Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary. The silver dome of Al-Aqsa Mosque marks the place from which, according to Islamic tradition, the Prophet Muhammad ascended into the heavens during the Isra and Miraj, accompanied by the angel Gabriel. It was the very first Qibla, the original direction Muslims faced in prayer before Mecca. And for Christians, this ground holds sacred weight of another kind. It was here that Jesus of Nazareth entered the temple courts, speaking in parables and teaching with authority. He overturned the tables of the money changers in righteous fury and declared, "My Father's house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations." Mark 11:17. He walked its stones, he wept upon this hill, and he foretold its future, a time when not one stone would be left upon another. So we are left with this truth. 3 faiths, 1 hill, infinite controversy, a place where holiness is layered upon holiness, where centuries of reverence have mixed with centuries of conflict. But here is the deeper mystery. The world gazes at the structures above, the shrines, the domes, the Western Wall. But the true story, the one that could shake history, lies not above, but beneath. Forbidden to dig. The mount no shovel can touch. To look beneath the Temple Mount is to stare into forbidden territory. It is not that people don't want to dig, it is that they can't. No place on earth is under tighter restrictions than this sacred plateau. It sits at the crossroads of religious passion, national identity, and global tension. 1 inch too deep in the wrong direction, and you don't just risk archaeological collapse, you risk geopolitical eruption. Technically, the Temple Mount is part of Israeli territory. But in practice, the Islamic Waqf holds administrative authority. Israeli police guard the perimeter. But the Waqf controls what happens on the platform itself. And under their rule, excavation is strictly forbidden. For religious Jews, there's yet another restriction. Halakhic law prohibits entering certain areas of the mount for fear of stepping where only the ancient high priest could tread. Without a cleansed temple or divine presence, many will not even ascend the mount, let alone dig beneath it. No archaeologist, Jewish or Muslim, is permitted to place a spade in the ground under the central platform. Not one. The reason is simple. Even one wrong step here could start a war. This is why, despite centuries of longing, the underground secrets of the mount remain mostly untouched. There has never been a comprehensive excavation beneath the dome of the rock. Not in the modern age. Not under official authority. But that hasn't always stopped human curiosity. In the 1860s, a daring British explorer named Charles Warren descended into the caverns beneath Jerusalem. Using nothing more than ropes, candles, and instinct, he crept through ancient tunnels and vertical shafts, now known as Warren's Shaft. He charted hidden cisterns and passageways that seemed to stretch endlessly beneath the Temple Mount. Some led to water, others led to nowhere. All were mysterious. Warren didn't find the Ark of the Covenant, but he uncovered something else. A terrifying truth. The mount is hollow, layered, waiting. And if any of those ancient chambers still exist, they could hold relics that would rewrite the story of faith itself. Yet for over a century, silence returned. No official team dared follow where Warren went, until something unexpected and deeply troubling broke the ground open. The Sifting Project, history dumped and recovered. Sometimes, history is not uncovered by patient digging. Sometimes, it's thrown away. In the late 1990s, under the cover of night, something astonishing happened. The Islamic Waqf, during an unsanctioned renovation of underground prayer halls near Solomon's stables, used heavy machinery to excavate and remove hundreds of truckloads of earth from inside the Temple Mount. No archaeological oversight, no record of context. Thousands of years of layered soil, discarded like trash. It was, in the words of many, an unthinkable loss. But where others saw devastation, a few saw hope. In 2004, a small team of Israeli archaeologists, led by Dr. Gabriel Barkay, launched a bold effort to salvage the history that had been dumped. They recovered as much of the displaced earth as they could, tons of it, rescuing it from landfills and rubble heaps. And thus began the Temple Mount Sifting Project. It was humble at first. Plastic trays, buckets of water, hands sorting through dirt with spoons and tweezers. But word spread. Volunteers came from across the globe, young and old, Jew, Christian, Muslim, secular. One by one, they sifted, and slowly, history began to emerge. A clay seal impression, possibly used in First Temple-era administration. Arrowheads from Babylonian or Roman invasions. Fragments of floor tiles matching the opus sectile patterns known from Herodian renovations. Tiles that may have once lined the courts where Jesus walked. Even silver coins, burned bones, ritual objects, evidence of life, worship, and war. Each artifact, no matter how small, whispered, "I was there." Among the rubble, something sacred was hiding. And yet, the sifting revealed something more than relics. It revealed a pattern, a map, a hidden language of the past, pointing to deeper layers that still lie buried beneath the platform. What was lost may yet be found, but only if we dare to look further. And that leads us to the next chapter, where science begins to uncover what even politics cannot block. Proof of the First Temple. When faith becomes tangible, for centuries, skeptics called it a myth. They said Solomon's temple was a symbol, not a structure. A story for the faithful, rich in meaning, but poor in evidence. But then, the dust began to speak. As archaeologists sifted through the debris salvaged from the Temple Mount earth, something remarkable emerged. Bully, small clay seal impressions hardened by time and flame. But these weren't ordinary seals. Stamped into them were names. Names found in the Bible. Gemariah, son of Shaphan, a royal scribe mentioned in the book of Jeremiah. Immer, a priestly family known from the temple records. Pashur, another temple priest, once involved in the persecution of the prophet. Pressed into ancient clay were the fingerprints of people whose voices had echoed through Scripture. And they weren't fiction. They had lived, written, prayed, bled. And they weren't alone. Charred bones scorched by fire. Bronze incense shovels, remarkably preserved, designed in the same style described in Levitical worship. Ritual tools, basins, tongs, and fragments of ceremonial vessels matched the specifications laid out for the temple rites, down to their materials and measurements. Then came something even older. An ivory comb, so delicate it seemed it would crumble in the hand, inscribed with Proto-Canaanite script, among the earliest examples of alphabetic writing ever discovered. Its message? A prayer against lice, humble, human, sacred. And more, ceramic bowls and goblets from the late Iron Age, bearing the marks of First Temple era ritual purity laws. Experts subjected the finds to rigorous testing, carbon dating, material analysis, and comparative typology. The results aligned again and again with the 10th century BCE, the era traditionally ascribed to Solomon himself, and with the 8th century, the time of Israel's great prophets and kings. These weren't random objects. They formed a pattern, a liturgy of stone and ash. This wasn't just ancient debris. This was memory, pressed into clay, fired in the heat of destruction, left behind like a signature. The temple was no longer legend. It was there, and it left its mark. Soft transition into deeper tone. But what if the artifacts are only fragments of something far greater? What if the ground itself, the layout, the rooms, the sealed halls, still holds more? Underground architecture, maps and machines of holiness. When human hands are forbidden to dig, technology takes their place. In recent years, a new era of exploration has begun, not with shovels or spades, but with scanners, satellites, and the silent gaze of particle physics. Teams have begun deploying ground-penetrating radar, GPR, seismic imaging, and even muon detectors, machines that can read the density of stone through cosmic particles, revealing what lies hidden beneath. What they've found is astonishing. Around the western wall and the southern edge of the Temple Mount, sensors have detected chambers, hollowed voids, and long-forgotten stairways, completely buried. In one area near Robinson's Arch, deep beneath the plaza, a vast hall with Herodian architecture has been mapped. But deeper still, older stonework appears beneath it, massive ashlar blocks, with no known match in Second Temple construction. They bear signs of pre-Herodian engineering, possibly Solomonic in age. In multiple sectors, signs point to intentional sealing, blocks perfectly fitted, halls filled in, not collapsed. These weren't caves destroyed by time. They were buried on purpose. Why? Was it to protect the sacred from invading hands? Was it part of a purification rite, meant to hide what was too holy to touch? Or was something hidden there, something awaiting a future day? Who buried them, and why? The question echoes like a whisper through the stone. What kind of people would build sacred halls, and then hide them forever? What were they protecting? And what lies in those hollow places, still untouched? still silent. The water system that shouldn't exist. Then came a discovery that rewrote what we thought we knew about ancient Jerusalem. Below the Temple Mount, researchers identified something even more improbable. A subterranean water system so advanced, it should not have existed in that time. Beneath layers of ash and stone, beneath chambers and courtyards, lie a network of cisterns, aqueducts, and drainage channels, all carved with mathematical precision. They snake beneath the mount like arteries, drawing from natural springs and redirecting flow with hydraulic logic thousands of years ahead of its time. Carbon-dated plaster from these tunnels places their construction during the First Temple period, confirming they were already in operation during the reigns of Israel's earliest kings. Scripture had hinted at such genius. In 2 Chronicles 32, it speaks of King Hezekiah, who blocked the upper outlet of the Gihon Spring and directed the water down to the west side of the city of David. And in 2 Kings 20:20, he made a pool and a tunnel and brought water into the city. These weren't just tunnels, they were spiritual infrastructure, crafted to serve not just the city, but the temple. Beneath what may have once been the altar area, archaeologists discovered a large stone basin. Inside, they found layers of ash mixed with residue rich in phosphates and organic compounds, the chemical signature of blood and sacrifice. This was not ordinary ash. This was ritual ash, sacred. It points to something breathtaking. The temple was never a mere building. It was a divine engine, a living system, constructed with purpose, physically, spiritually, and symbolically. It harnessed water, light, and geometry to connect heaven and earth. And what still lies beneath that sacred hill may hold answers not just about the past, but about the destiny of Jerusalem itself. The sealed chamber. His spirit never leaves. For years, the underground scans had hinted at something: a chamber, a void, a space untouched by time. But now, the image had sharpened, and what they found surpassed every expectation. Hidden deep beneath the surface of the Temple Mount, scientists traced the ancient water system to its final destination. A sealed chamber carved directly into the bedrock of Mount Moriah. It was uncollapsed, undisturbed, a place no one had entered for thousands of years. When access was finally granted, through imaging, remote probes, and careful observation, what they saw left even the most skeptical speechless. In the center of the chamber stood a stone basin, darkened with age. Around it, arranged in almost ceremonial formation, lay the remnants of burnt offerings, the charred bones of animals, ceramic incense bowls, and oil lamps, their soot still clinging to the walls like a memory preserved in flame. And then, something even more astonishing. Etched into the stone above the basin, in ancient Paleo-Hebrew, were the words, "He who dwells here, his spirit never leaves." The lettering was precise, the language archaic but unmistakable. Scholars compared it with ancient priestly texts and passages found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. The phrasing matched descriptions used to refer to the Holy of Holies. It was not graffiti, it was declaration, and it suggested something few dared to even speak aloud. Had they just found the original Holy of Holies? Could this chamber, sealed in stone and hidden beneath centuries of silence, have once housed the Ark itself? For scientists, it was one of the most significant archaeological finds of the century. For religious leaders, it was a moment of both awe and alarm. Some wept, some argued, some fell silent. Because if this truly was what the evidence suggested, then it meant the divine presence, the Shekinah, had never departed. It had simply remained, waiting, waiting beneath the stones. Sacred, political, dangerous. The world responded, swiftly and unpredictably. Academics across disciplines hailed it as the most important religious archaeological discovery in modern times. A chamber untouched since the First Temple period, inscriptions matching sacred texts. It was no longer just speculation. This was data. This was real. But reverence was quickly shadowed by controversy. Jewish religious authorities were divided. Some viewed the find as a fulfillment of prophecy, a sign that the days of restoration were near. Others were horrified, fearing that even remote observation of the sacred chamber could constitute a violation of halakha, the ancient laws of purity and distance. Muslim leaders warned against any action that might disturb the sanctity of Al-Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary above. Christian groups offered mixed reactions, some speaking of divine confirmation, others urging caution and humility. And governments? They hesitated. Israeli officials remained tight-lipped. International observers urged restraint. No one wanted to ignite a firestorm over what lay beneath a hill that already trembled with tension. Proposals began to surface, calling for non-invasive methods only. Muon imaging, thermal scans, neutrino-based tomography. The language of physics was now being used to explore the foundations of faith. And through it all, the deepest question remained. If we truly have found the Holy of Holies, what do we do with it? Do we study it? Do we protect it? Or do we leave it untouched, just as it has been for thousands of years? The implications could reshape history, but the cost might be more than we're willing to bear. So now, we step back. Let us remember what has been uncovered, not only in chambers and soil, but in the human heart. We found bullae, stamped with biblical names. We found sacred tools, matching temple rites, oil lamps, ritual vessels, bones charred by fire, and a water system designed with divine logic. We found a sealed chamber, untouched since the Age of Kings, and etched in stone, an inscription that still sends chills through the soul. His spirit never leaves. So we ask, was this the place where the Shekinah once dwelled? Is this chamber the echo of God's throne on earth, or a symbol of something deeper? Have we touched the past, or disturbed something eternal? The answers may never be complete. Because the Temple Mount is not just a location, it is a threshold between history and prophecy, between earth and heaven. And though we may never fully uncover its mysteries, for a brief moment we looked beneath the surface, and the stones spoke. And what they whispered has changed us. So now we turn the question to you. What do you think was buried here? Faith? Fact? Or something that lives between the two? Let us know in the comments. We welcome your thoughts, with respect, with wonder, with curiosity. And if this journey moved you, there is more to come. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay reverent, and never stop seeking what lies beneath.